on topical issues as always. Nigeria right now. Come on.
Gaskiya wuta normal.
As it relates to their relationship with Jackson. So that's it. This is Nigeria right now. Action. Caught you finally. It's been a long time coming.
It's all right. It's a long time coming.
Nigeria right now with Tinubu. Today my guest is Bwala ESQ.
That's
Thank
right.
you, because honestly, I've been trying very hard to reach you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So,
thank you.
how is Nigeria treating you, generally?
Well, Nigeria is treating me well, even though it's a difficult time in Nigeria because of over a period of time of successive governments. Efforts have been made by different people, to put Nigeria in a structure that will make life difficult, make life easy for not just our generation, but generation to come. And as a result of decisions of successive government, we found ourselves where we are, where if you have to make a decision for the good of Nigeria, there is this impact. So Nigerians are at the moment in a, if you like, a difficult time, but it's the kind of sacrifice that is attached with hope, because at the end of the day, it will bring out light for everyone. So this is what Nigeria is treating me. I am not different from the ordinary man on the street.
The angles that brought about Bwala in the political environment in Nigeria. What's your trajectory? Can we just a summary about your political journey?
Yeah, well, I took interest in politics after observing it for some time, making our commentaries on the sidelines. Sometimes you observe the players and you feel like people aren't doing it the way you would have loved to do, or they are not doing it the way you thought it should be done. And then we found out that you can talk all you want until you be a part of it. You cannot change it.
Getting involved.
When we began, participating at the time, people were even criticizing that step, because me coming from the background of the Christian faith and as a pastor, people tend that you cannot. Yes, I am. That you cannot go into politics. But we realized that we have to be there. So I started engaging, and at some point I ran for Senate. At the beginning, as an APC member, I wanted to run in Southern Borno, and then the feelers I was getting was that the person from Southern Borno is a concluded work. So I now went to SDP, and then started the process. Then Adams Oshomole, Comrade Adams, as the chairman of APC. I went to SDP to run for Senate in Southern Borno. But being a friend and advisor to Comrade Adams Oshomole,
who is in APC.
I was actually in APC. I wanted to go and run in SDP. So he asked that I should, if I think of coming to Abuja to run, it would be an incredible idea, because one, my participation in politics has always been at the center, and that my impact in the party is felt by the national body. So why not come around, run in the federal capital? So I came, we began engagement and everything. We even went into primaries, but sadly, on the day of primaries, the party canceled the primaries as inconclusive because of pressure from the natives. And then before we knew, there was no primaries conducted again. Names of indigents of the state were sent to INEC as representatives of the party for Senate and House of Rep. And that's how it ended. Since then, I've not run for any position, but I decided that I will be actively involved.
Okay, and you are actively involved, because in 2023, you were a spokesperson for the Presidential Council of the PDP. Yeah, 2023. That is, you spoke for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
Right.
The likes of you were out there speaking, selling Alhaji Atiku Abubakar.
Correct.
Of course, also demarketing his opponents.
Yeah, that's
one of them happens to be the president today.
whom I'm supporting.
Who is now more like your beautiful bride you've embraced, and everyone is wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
Daniel Bwala stood against Muslim ticket. What has changed?
Funny enough.
Or what changed?
Yeah, funny enough, the president in APC, I was one of at the primaries, I was one of the leading voices supporting his cause for emergence as a flag bearer, because at the time, yes, I was one of the leading. And because at the time, people believed that there was no any reference to him, and there was in fact a plan to ensure he did not emerge. So at the time, if you were supporting anybody and they wanted to be popular, you were supposed to be seen supporting either Osibanjo, Ahmed Lawal, Amechi, and the others. And I felt that nobody could challenge Atiku, whom I believe at the time will come out, than President Tinubu.
At that time, were you still in APC? Or
yes, in APC.
Yeah. You were still in APC?
In APC.
Okay, that was before the primary?
Up to after the primaries of the APC.
You left the party after the primary?
I left the party when he decided to pick the vice presidential candidate, who happens to be a Muslim.
At that time, the primaries had taken place?
Had taken place. Parties have emerged.
Okay.
And then it took even a couple of weeks after the parties emerged. So that was the journey. And then, of course, it's out in the public domain when he took the decision to pick a candidate that turned out to be a Muslim. And my feeling is that the nation is diverse. And we had this ethnic and religious charged environment, and I felt that the Muslim ticket would send a bad signal. And since I was going to be actively involved and not just a passive member, I needed to make a stand. And that was why I left. Not that I had any issue against him, his capacity, ability, or anything.
I get that.
I went into the election. Yeah. I supported Atiku. When I joined PDP, luckily for me, Atiku made me the spokesman, and then we went into campaign. My duty as a spokesman, just like a salesman, is to sell your product. But in selling your product, you have to give reason why your product is better than the other product, which led to the demarketing. But my joy is that throughout that engagement, I observed the rules. You can never find one clip where I became personal with any of the candidate or be derogatory, because my understanding is that any of them could have been a president. And whoever emerged, we would all rally around that person.
It's okay, but the Muslim ticket is still the ticket.
Yes, it's still the ticket.
And the candidate you're now supporting, who is the president, is with that Muslim
correct
ticket. What changed?
Facts change opinion. Facts. We make decisions in life based on available facts. Facts can be countered.
What were the facts then, and what is the fact?
The facts then was that the fear that the Muslim ticket might disenfranchise the Christian. The facts that have changed now, President Tinubu appears to be, in fact, more equitable to all. That some people are even criticizing him for showing that fairness to the minority. If you are a Nigerian or you're observing Nigeria, you will see that President Tinubu has not taken any decision that has religiously affected the interests of any religious group. One, he has not blocked or prevented people who happen to be minorities for attaining opportunities. And to make it even, to further buttress the point, ordinarily after the election, President Tinubu ought to have turned his back away from me. But President Tinubu opened his arms and asked me to come see him. I wanted to be part of what he's doing. Now, that's one side of it. The flip side to it is that when elections are over and somebody emerged, before we embark into the next election, it will be after 2-3 years. But now we have Nigeria to build. He took certain decisions that further heat up the polity, because like the removal of subsidy, floating of the naira and all that. And I felt that my role as a person, you remember even when he made the decision, I was critical of those decisions. But when I met with him, I had a conversation, like I told you, fact changes opinion. He gave me a perspective as to why he took that decision.
That's a one-on-one meeting now?
One-on-one, privately,
okay.
When I met.
If that changed you, it's okay, because promises could have been laid on the table for you that made you change your mind.
Funny enough.
Because it was a private meeting. We were not there.
Yeah, but
we were not private.
But
some of the discussions.
I agree with you perfectly.
Yeah.
And the media also ran with the news, because, of course, people would naturally feel like there was a promise. He has not promised me anything. I know we have had a lot of discussions with him.
It's okay. It's not even for you to accept whether there was a promise or not. It's not our business, really.
Right.
Because it was not a public thing.
Right.
But the challenge is your character as a politician.
Correct.
Is it now being questioned by this decision of yours? Because people feel, Daniel Bwala said all this and all that.
Yeah,
You know, and now saying, oh, that facts have changed. What facts?
Yeah.
The fact is still the fact that the man said he was going to have Muslim ticket, and he did have it, meaning that, thank God you're a pastor. As far as so many of us are concerned who are on the other side, think that that was insensitive of the other part that makes Nigeria. All right, it's like saying northern ticket or southern ticket. No matter, even if it works, does it make it right? So even if Nigerians didn't revolt against it, even if it appears, according to you now, that by his appointments and all of that, he seems to be fair to all, does it still make it right?
The reason in the first place for the feeling that it should be a Christian Muslim is because of the fear that if it is a Christian or a Muslim, it is likely to provide a platform for the disenfranchisement of the other religious demographics. That is the foundation. The whole essence of democracy by representation is that we feel if our own are not there when the decisions are being made, decisions might be made that will affect us. That is democracy, man-made process. Unlike theocracy, where you have faith in God, whoever is there will work it out for everybody. So democracy, you watch your back at all times. Now, facts that change opinion is that if I thought that when you walked into this room, you were going to fight me, and I prepared my guard, and then you walked in and you cracked joke and you made everybody relax, facts have changed. My initial disposition before you entered has to change because you have not corroborated my fears, you have rather disproved my fears. If I retain the same guard even after you have come, this is where people sometimes are classified as being extremist, or that you have personal hatred, or you are prejudiced.
But what does it do to the soul of the nation? You know, when, I may have disarmed you with, coming with jokes and all of that, and now makes you relax and all of that. The soul of the nation itself, does it not harm it? For instance, the place of religion where we spend so much money for pilgrimages, either to Mecca or to Jerusalem, and then come to education that's provided for in the budget. You see that the budget for education, even the student loan so-called, is far lower than religious exercises that ought to be private business. So what does it do to the soul of the nation when we allow this to happen?
That's where governance come to play. And you can have good or bad leaders in all religion.
Of course.
You can have someone from your own demographics that will end up becoming the worst leader. It's like when we started canvassing for young people to be given opportunities. And then after 2019 and 23, we have seen how governors emerged who are young, some of whom were worse than what you can imagine.
So it's not about age,
it's not about age. The fundamental of the conversation remains the same, the character of the person, and then the capacity. If that fundamental is in place, the soul of the nation is preserved.
We can go on break and come back and look at those angles of governance.
All right.
Nigeria right now with Dixon Irebu. It's hot in here. We'll be right back.
Nigeria now has been a program that is within the national consciousness. The promoter of the program, Dixon, is known to me for more than 2 decades. I'm quite delighted that he still himself. He has never grown arrogant and is very professional to the core. And when you have individuals that their focus is not their personal aggrandizement, it's in the interests of Nigerians, I think you have the comfort that Nigeria will be great again. And with people like him, quite a number of people that are in the video, I believe the sky is the limit for this country. I believe in this country, and I believe one day this nation will be great.
Welcome right back. This is still Nigeria right now with Dixon Irebu, and my guest is Daniel Bwala, Esquire.
In the absence of capacity, politicians pry on the vulnerability of the masses. You see, because like look at America, you know, you want to attain to power, The capacity is not the challenge, or maybe even the Nigerian demographic is one that does not give preference to capacity, because we are so prejudiced or we have been so wounded that our trust for people has gone down. So anybody who gravitates towards our emotions, our feelings, or our opinion is likely to win us. So now the politicians studied that. That's why, like the way in the North, I used to say, the North has intellectuals, but the North for many years until recently has not been blessed to produce leaders, because the intellectuals do not embrace this concept of manipulating the masses. And those who manipulate have capacity problem. This politicians have been using not only in Nigeria and in Africa, but thankfully the table is turning. The advent of social media has democratized the media space. That agenda-driven points that media carry out no longer exist. So people on
mainstream media.
So the new media has democratized information that now somebody can gauge what you are doing and what someone else is doing somewhere, and prove to you that what you are giving as excuse cannot be excused because A, B, and C somewhere in Antarctica or anywhere else has been able to do that. And then fact-checking the people on a real time.
But you are a lawyer.
Right.
Where is the place for justice, equity, and fairness in nation building? Because if I don't have a sense of ownership of this space, how will I participate in protecting and defending this space?
Fundamentally, the justice is what we call proper representation, because that's the essence of democracy.
Yes.
And representation includes all demographics and all religious demographics.
Yes.
And the nature of Nigeria is such that you have to incorporate that in governance. But you also have to be careful so that in fighting for the rights of A, you also do not infringe on the rights of B. Why do I say that? Nigeria consists of many religions, and Nigeria is not a religious state. When you, in your advocacy, insist has to be Christian and Muslim, forgot the traditional rulers, idol worshippers, all of those people that within the framework of the Constitution have a right to exercise.
Of course, yes.
And you don't incorporate them into the fair balancing system, like the way we say power should be zoned between here and here.
Yeah.
So if you think of zoning from that perspective, then all of these elements will have to be factored.
Not zoning. If we think of justice, equity from that perspective.
But
in
then
politics,
it has to be.
in democracy, what about the place of majority and the minority? So if we have majority as Christians and Muslims, it should be more about them being the ones taking the decision, isn't it?
Majority against minority is not justice, it's the law. Justice is protecting the less. That is why justice is said to be, it has to be fair and equitable, meaning that they are the downtrodden, which ordinarily will not have had his voice.
Yes.
The law needs his voice. That's why America introduced, apart from the popular vote, they have what they call the Electoral College. It is for that reason that states like Maine, those states that ordinarily will not have any say in the union, will have to be a necessary factor in the emergence of a president when they put delegates in that. So
that's
people
America.
go to that place.
Let's bring it back home.
But that's the essence of democracy.
How is it working here?
So in Nigeria,
because there's no template you copy and paste that works.
Yeah.
It's just you modify it to suit your own environment. How is it working in Nigeria?
So I gave the promise to destroy the notion of Christian and Muslim. That if the presidential candidate is from a Christian or a Muslim, the vice has to be a Christian or Muslim. Because I am saying that if you solely build on that, so what happens to the religious worshippers, idol worshippers and the rest? It will be difficult for you to go around that. But the point that has been made in that regard is to bring us to a point where we no longer look at that as the basis. That is not to suggest that when you are canvassing in a political party for representation, you will not push for somebody that represents your interests. But you have now strengthened my case by talking about what about majority carries the day and minority. Meaning that if the same argument works for majority Christians, majority Muslim should work in that direction, what if the majority that are Christians are able to produce both the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate? So we will get to a point where if we want to work from the perspective you are thinking about, let us put it into the Constitution. At every given time for presidential candidate, any political party presenting candidates
must have this and this combined.
And then those minority worshippers will also go to court to challenge whether they've been ostracized.
No,
then you will make the case that it is the majority.
It wouldn't have been a case because it's not an issue for us personally. It's not an issue for me personally. It's because that you left your former political party, a party you helped to build, because the candidate then, who is now the president, said he was going to have a Muslim ticket. That's why it's a topic. And we thought that there's no explanation enough. Like the Gen Zs will say, they will say you will explain, you go explain.
Yeah. This is what makes an elevate intellectualism. That efforts in intellectualism is to persuade. And you must have at the back of your mind that not everybody will be convinced per time in what you say. Some will get to learn it later. Some may never even get it at all. But the target as leaders in whatever we do is to look at the demographics that are not either politically inclined. Like, for example, somebody who belongs to another political party, because you belong to another political party, may not give you that fair assessment he would have given to a neutral person. So my focus has always been the way I do my dealings. On the majority of Nigerians who do not have political affiliation, what will they think and what will they reason? And given the present situation of Nigeria,
online, I see the bashing you receive. So the majority of the Nigerians are also on your loop.
70 to 80% of those who disagree and are consistently attacking me on social media belong to a particular political party. I don't want to glorify
which party is that.
I don't want to glorify that.
How?
Because I know the reason I'm saying, if you mention the party, I would then
what is the party? I wouldn't know. I can't read your mind.
Fine. So that's what I'm saying. But they know, as they listen to me, they know. Now, belongs to a particular political party. And the reason they have, there is no way in hell you can convince them. Now, here is the point. The very dramatic thing about me, that sometimes I tend to have a part of me that understands that, and I don't hold it against them. You see, when I left APC, the first political party after I left that approached me was Labour Party. It was.
Is that the party that you're talking about?
It was at the highest level. I will come to it. Okay. Now, I was contacted by a former president of the Federal Republic. In this hotel, he was with the two candidates. It was an honor. I'm just being honest that I got a call that many Nigerians will not have gotten when he asked me to come on board. But you know, in life, we make our decision part-time and based on conviction. I didn't think I was prepared to be a part of that movement. And when I left APC, the highest and number one platform that were excited with me in anticipation and hope that I was going to come to them was that particular party I'm talking about. When eventually I detoured to another political party, they are human beings. They will not be comfortable with you. Everybody wants, if you have value, to be a part of what they are doing. So when I moved,
you moved to PDP.
When I moved to PDP,
supported the candidate of PDP.
PDP. Now the APC that I left, which saw me as a friend, now became angry. They were bashing. That other party started bashing.
I didn't see much of that.
Yeah, well, they did.
They allowed you move on. That you had your point. That
you think so? Yeah, so that means you believe also that as I'm supporting President Tinubu, that also the PDP believe that I've moved on. So you have helped me to narrow down who are the critics online.
It's okay. You see, for me, what we want to do here, Daniel Bwala, you see, what we want to do is, please, while you are, whether you're conscious of it or not, you have become a role model to those who are aspiring.
I appreciate that.
To also join the political environment.
Appreciate that.
Right. So let's bring it to geopolitical zonery.
Right.
Was it right for a northerner to have finished 8 years? 8 years of the presidency that you also supported. You supported Muhammadu Buhari.
Correct.
Yes. After 8 years of his presidency, you now thought you could also bring a northerner to become president of Nigeria. Was that right?
We would always have to look at our conversation as against what law do we practice and what form of government do we practice, and whether we have a one-party state. You cannot dictate the activities of another political party, right? But you can dictate your own. There is an unwritten convention in political parties. When power stays here for a period of time, it has to move here and up like that. But it has not been a constitutional issue. So if somebody moves from a political party to another that happens to support a candidate that came from where he comes from, nothing has gone wrong, because APC, for example, that has had the candidate for 8 years, cannot dictate for PDP that you should bring a candidate from the south.
But we have federal character arrangement and we also, you're a lawyer, you know what is precedent.
But the federal character arrangement only recognize the executive acts of elected officials who have taken the oath of office that in administering the resources of Nigeria for the good of Nigeria, you must observe this principle. These guys are outside coming in. Once the person comes in, he is bound by that when he takes the oath of office to make sure that there is a distribution of government in a manner that does not disenfranchise people. I am one of the strongest advocates for power going to the south. During the 8 years of President Buhari, we hit that. In fact, before I started supporting President Bwala Tinubu in the primaries, at the beginning, some of us were making the conversation for the just late Obona, because this was a man who didn't have much of public service, apart from when he was a governor. No much that you can point out to say you can discredit him. Very conservative, very reserved, forthright, nationalist. This was incorruptible. We were pushing for him. I remember I was sad that from his own state, the governor of the state, in order to diminish him, now came and said he was going to run. But again, you cannot dictate for a people saying that the North will decide who becomes the candidate of the South, whether South is or South. Let the democracy work in a way that whoever wins there. And that is to support the view that I believe that democracy should go round. Generally, life is about facts. Your decision is guided by available fact. If you are somebody who is given not just to intellectualism, but you are given to the very principle of life. When we go to study, for example, if you want to become a lecturer, a doctor, a professor, you have to study facts. And your decision and movement scientifically, empirical fact, validated, and also critiqued by peers. So this is what the world is all about.
How politics is played? Is politics not give and take? Is it facts?
Politics is give and take. I agree.
So if it is
but it is also a game of give and take based on your negotiating strength. Give and take that is anchored on negotiation. And it is the skill of negotiation that determines who gets whatever chunk. But when the politics leads you into public office, then you are bound by the law that says you must distribute power in a way that it reflects the character of Nigeria. You see, coming into it, and this is what informed the decision that President Bwala Tinubu then as a candidate to take the vice candidate who was a Muslim, because that was a formula that to him was realistic to winning the election.
Don't you feel slighted or insulted as a Christian from northern Nigeria that in fact there was a consideration like that on the table?
If I didn't feel it, I would not have left APC.
But the facts have changed now. You have come back.
No, the fact now is that we are not campaigning.
It's okay.
No, get the point. We are not campaigning. He is already in government. Now let's assume I still get angry and stay where I'm staying. Does it change the fact that he's the president?
Of course not.
But in governing the affairs of government, will I impact and protect the community that I come from if I was outside or if I'm inside?
I'll see you next week on this same show, Nigeria Right Now.